Welcome into Second Down right here on ESPN Radio. Christian Gokel alongside Cam Ursery. Glad y'all are hanging out with us here on this Friday afternoon. And it is officially college football season as the teams around the country open up camp today, from Statesboro to Clemson, South Carolina, Athens, Georgia, Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Everyone's hitting the field, getting ready for this 2021 season. Pads popping, get our first look at a bunch of guys in some new uniforms. So we have so much to dive into in the show today. We'll talk some Georgia Southern football. Who's going to be the quarterback with Tomlin out for the first couple of games? There's a freshman that was turning some heads, not just with his play, but with his size in Statesboro. So we'll dive into that. Injury updates in Athens. So who are some of the guys that Georgia is going to see back on the field coming up for week one against Clemson? And who's maybe someone we need to hit the brakes a little bit and maybe reevaluate what we thought we were going to see out of this player? We'll dive into that. We're also going to catch up in the 5 o'clock hour with Drew DeArmond from 977 The Zone in Huntsville, Alabama. He'll give us the latest from Alabama as they open fall camp. We get our first look at Bryce Young as he's starting quarterback for the Tide. At the 3 o'clock hour, we'll catch up with Jed May from UGAsports.com. He was in Athens today as Georgia opened up camp, and so we'll get the latest from Athens from him. But Cam, everybody's hitting the field. Pads are popping. We'll get our first look at a lot of these guys, and really we're starting to see some of the storylines from the offseason materialize, position battles, philosophy changes for a lot of these teams. Which, I guess, battle from around the country are you watching most intently when it comes to a position battle? Because I do think there are a few that are up in the air that could really change the landscape of college football.
I'll give you one that you probably wouldn't expect me to come on here today and say. I don't know if it's a battle, but it may happen during the season. Bo Nix and TJ Finley. I want to say, what's it?
TJ Finley, yep.
At Auburn. He transferred from LSU, and I've seen a tweet from him this summer where he was like, I didn't come here to, sit on the bench. I came here to play. And granted, Bo Nix, that's my guy, man. That's my guy. Won the Iron Bowl freshman year, beat Oregon his first career start. But he's kind of struggled a little bit. He's kind of struggled, had his ups and downs, and he might see himself, if he doesn't produce the way he needs to produce as a junior, he might see himself in a quarterback dilemma during the middle of the season. So that's a shocker one. I wouldn't say right now, but you have one right now in LSU. I guess you could say that. I know Max Johnson is the consistent starter, but it's a freshman down there that's, turning some heads.
Josh Pate from 247 Sports talked about that yesterday. Nussmeier is going to have to step up with the injury to Miles Brennan, and some clarity coming out on that injury. Miles Brennan, actually a non-football injury to that shoulder. He injured it in a freak accident while fishing. So, I mean, it's the nightmare. That was the nightmare for every coach come to fruition. I know when I played, we had the no wheels rule, which meant when it was in and around football season, there's no bikes, there's no skateboards, there's no rollerblades, there's no go-karts, none of it. Once you got around football season, no wheels. And so now we see, I guess, no wheels on a boat. But now you just see the nightmare of every football coach across the country coming true with Miles Brennan. And we talked about this a couple of days ago and how that kind of changes what LSU might look to do on offense and what they feel like they can do on offense, not because Max Johnson isn't capable, but because he's one weird hit away on a scramble from you having to start a true freshman on a team in LSU who a lot of people picked to finish second in the SEC West and who has some pretty big aspirations in this 2021 season. So, again, one of the major storylines going into the SEC for these camps is that quarterback situation at LSU. Another quarterback situation down here to keep an eye on is Georgia Southern. Justin Tomlin was the odds-on favorite to be the starting quarterback this year and probably still will start a majority of the games for the Eagles this year. But for the first two games this season, Georgia Southern's going to have to find somebody else to start, as Chad Lunsford announced that Tomlin will be suspended for the first couple of games this season. And Chad Lunsford provided some clarity today as Georgia Southern opened camp in Statesboro on who we will probably see be the guy. Two names, Sam Kinderson and Cameron Ransom, were the names that Chad Lunsford said that you'll probably see week one and week two as he's starting quarterbacks. We've seen it before. He has no problem rotating quarterbacks. I mean, Tomlin would get in a lot for Shai Werts the past couple of years. But, man, I don't know if you've seen some of the pictures coming out from Statesboro, but Cameron Ransom does not look like a true freshman. This dude's all of 6'3", probably pushing 6'4" in cleats, and well over 220 pounds. A big dude. And I know Georgia Southern, the past few years, we've been used to kind of the smaller, sleeker, quick quarterbacks can really facilitate that option game. If Cameron Ransom can start facilitating and really get a grasp on this triple option offense, because going back and watching some of his tape from high school, he kind of played the spread that everybody plays, right? Where he did run some, and there was some read option stuff in there, but a lot of slants, a lot of finding him some easy passes over the middle, and then just letting him be more athletic than everybody on the field. Georgia Southern, you're the trigger man for that offense, right? So many different complex reads that quarterback has to read every single play beyond just a passing game, right? If he can, though, and if Roos can develop some power run games around him, I think he could have a really, really successful career at Georgia Southern. And again, we were talking about this with NFL training camps. You see everybody, they look great when they're out there at training camp, but this dude looks different. Like, he's a large individual.
Yeah, 6'4", 220. That's kind of hard to teach in itself. I mean, that's a humongous human being. If you stand by somebody that's 6'4", 220, you'll understand. But I've always been one to say, start your program. If you're having quarterback dilemmas, I always go with the youngest guy, a true freshman, because you got 4 years to develop him. My bad.
Yeah.
To develop him for the next 4 years. And if you're having quarterback issues like Tomlin, he's supposed to be there, but I think he's suspended the first 2 games of the season. Might as well roll this true freshman out there and see what he has. If it's a quarterback dilemma and you have to pick between one of the two, I go with the physical specimen. If you're running triple option, I run with the physical specimen, and 6'4", 220. That's pretty big at the quarterback position.
Well, I can tell you, Chad Luster is going to go with a guy who can facilitate this offense the best, and who can really, this entire offense is about who can make the right reads, right? Sometimes if you're the quarterback at Georgia Southern, you could complete a pass and only have 30 rushing yards, and you did your job. Because if you're providing the correct reads, you're getting the ball to the right guys, you're doing your job, and it just might not indicate it on the stats, right? You're pitching the ball behind you, so you get no stats for that, right? And I know Georgia Southern, a lot of times, if they don't have to throw a pass, they're happy.
Yeah.
If you win a game with 300 yards on the ground and no completions, hey, that's a good game for Georgia Southern there. But again, we're looking at just a different kind of quarterback there for Georgia Southern. I think in Cameron Ransom, we could see some really fun stuff coming up in the offense. Flipping over to Athens, Kirby Smart and the Dogs had their first chance to address the media ahead of fall camp. Kirby Smart provided some updates on the injury front there. And I think the biggest one to me, and a little bit surprising, but one that I think will be pretty significant, Dominic Blaylock is not cleared. And according to Kirby Smart, he is not in a competitive environment right now, which means to me, he's still in that physical therapy, trying to get some trust in that knee. Again, neither one of us are doctors on here, but trying to find trust in that knee. And when he says not in a competitive environment right now, to me, that means maybe some straight line running, maybe some weightlifting, but not really football activities, not cutting, not going up against other people. And if you're going into fall camp with as good as that wide receiver room is, I would not factor Dominic Blaylock in to your plans at the beginning of the season if I'm a Georgia fan out there watching. To me, again, just reading that verbiage, not in a competitive environment right now, that tells me we're probably not going to see Dominic Blaylock for the first few games this year.
You might not see him at all this year. You worry about a person's health. That's the most important thing. But you might not see him at all this year, because if that wide receiver core gets to moving and they look good this year, why, with all due respect, why bring him back? Why bring him back into that fold if the wide receiver core is producing and there's nothing wrong and you're winning games and you beat Clemson the first game of the year and you're halfway through the season and you beat Florida and now you're just coasting through the SEC East and the rest of your remaining schedule, why mess anything up? But hopefully he can get back on the field and, get healthy soon. But yeah, it looks like a long shot right now. We're in August and the season starts in a month, and that's just something you don't want to hear.
Yeah, and listen, you do have Jermaine Burton, you have Karis Jackson, Arian Smith, Another guy he provided an injury update on was Marcus Rosemead-Jacksaint, who fans will remember suffered that gruesome injury in the Florida game, catching the touchdown pass from Stetson Bennett. He is cleared, and according to Kirby Smart, he's full tilt out there in that wide receiver group, a guy who showed a lot of promise last year at wide receiver for Georgia. And then Nakobe Dean, who I think might be the best inside linebacker outside of Henry To'oTo'o in the SEC, revealed that he was dealing with a pretty significant shoulder injury all last year and pretty much just played through it, had offseason. And listen, outside of maybe quarterback, is there another position or running back you don't want to have a shoulder injury? Think about what a linebacker is doing every play. Sticking his shoulder in there. Revealed that he was rocking a pretty severe shoulder injury last year, had offseason surgery, and he's 100% cleared and ready to go. And I think junior season, this guy could be special.
Yeah, you hate to hear that, being a linebacker having a shoulder injury. I think like you say, it goes quarterback. I would say actually quarterback and linebacker, because they're using their shoulder literally every play that they're on the field. They have to use that shoulder to put them hands up and lower that shoulder. But man, if we could have him on the field this year, I mean, that Georgia defense, everybody's talking about Alabama.
Oh, he's going to be on the field. I just think it opens up a whole different level of play for him if he's not thinking about a shoulder when he's going in. Because, I mean, dude is sideline to sideline. We've seen it since his freshman year. I think he could be in for a really special season. I pulled it up on the screen for you here, Cam. That is Cameron Ransom standing next to Chad Lunsford. And I'd say towering over Chad Lunsford is a fair way of articulating that.
Ooh, okay, where are they feeding these kids, though?
That's a lot from Lakeland, Florida. So, I mean,
I need to go to Lakeland.
Football factory. That's a large human being there playing quarterback for Georgia Southern. I think someone you're going to see a lot, especially early in the season as they wait for Tomlin to get back. So really excited. Camps opening up all around college football. Statesboro, Athens, as we mentioned, a ton of news coming out from there. And then quickly here, wrapping up just what we've heard out of Georgia. Kirby Smart said Georgia's vaccination rate is at 90% right now, which we've spoken about before. Almost a competitive advantage, not just in college football, but the NFL, and specifically in the SEC, where Greg Sankey came out and said they will not be moving games. If your team is not able to play because of a COVID outbreak, it's a forfeit, which looms huge over a bunch of these teams that have national championship aspirations. True. And I think the more vaccinated players you get on the team, the bigger advantage it is for your team. Georgia now at 90%, but Kirby Smart voicing, he said, quote, I want it at 100%. So I think that's a massive competitive advantage. I think right now, half of the SEC is over that 80% number, and you're waiting for the other half to start getting there. And I think if you're saying your team's at 90%, and I don't think any other team in the SEC has reported they're above that, I think that's a pretty competitive advantage for Georgia going into the season, at least for the most part, eliminating the chances of that outbreak. I know we saw Florida. They don't have quite the numbers. I think they're hovering around 80% right now. They announced that they're going to be in a hotel during fall camp because Florida right now is seeing higher numbers, higher case numbers, and hospitalizations than they have seen in the pandemic period in the state of Florida. Dan Mullen announced that they're going to be housing the team at a hotel to try to control that and implementing a lot of protocols. Alabama, Nick Saban coming out saying for the next 6 weeks, they're going to be implementing the same protocols they had in 2020. And Alabama dealt with a ton of COVID issues. You had Nick Saban receiving the false positive ahead of the Georgia game and then receiving the positive. I forget which game that was ahead of, but
I want to say the Iron Bowl.
Yeah, Steve Sarkisian having to take over as the head coach in that one. So Alabama going back to their 2020 protocols. Dan Mullen and the Gators are going to be housing in a hotel during fall camp. So COVID-19 still very much a real part of this 2021 football season.
Yeah, it is, but you like to hear 90%. Hopefully every team could get to 90 to 100%, but it is a competitive advantage. We've seen some games get canceled last year. And
you saw the Vanderbilt game for Georgia get canceled twice.
Yeah, it got canceled last year. Now this year, that's an L.
It'd be an L for Vanderbilt, and that'd be a W for Georgia.
Yeah, it'd be a W for Georgia, L for Vanderbilt, or it could be any. It could go. It could be reverse if that happens the same way this year, and Georgia has an outbreak. But I mean, it's a competitive advantage. So hopefully, the vaccinations, everybody gets vaccinated, so we can move on with the season.
Absolutely, and again, fall camps opening up all across the country today. We're going to talk a lot more about it coming up on 3 and Out. We got a lot to get to here on Second Down. The Braves First time all season, over 500. They get the win, get the sweep of the Cardinals last night. Told Cam and Kevin, because they were both mad at me because they thought I jinxed the Braves yesterday when I predicted the win. To quote Gary Gaines, ain't no curses. Ain't no curses. Braves over 500 for the first time all year. Series coming up with the Nats tonight. We'll dive into the game last night because if you missed the way the Braves won that baseball game, it was
Weird.
a half of an inning to remember, or maybe to forget if you're a Cardinals fan. We'll dive into all that when we come back right here on Second Down. Second Down on ESPN Radio is presented to you by The Uniform Source. Christian Gokel alongside Cam Ursery here on this Friday afternoon. Glad y'all are hanging out with us. So much to dive into today. Fall camp opening all around the country. College football, we're back. Getting our first look at a lot of these players in action. Live reps with the teams and pads. Same thing with training camp. Cam, we had our first live football game last night. Steelers and the Cowboys. Got to see your first look at Najee Harris rocking out there. I know Josh. How about this one for some SEC nostalgia? Josh Dobbs with a touchdown pass to Tyler Simmons. So you have former Tennessee quarterback Josh Dobbs throwing a dime to former Georgia wide receiver Tyler Simmons for the Steelers there. So it was just, I don't care what or where it is. I think Dan Levitard put this up on his Twitter. He's like, I don't care what it is or who's playing or how bad it looks. There was live football on the TV last night. How much of the Hall of Fame game did you consume?
I didn't consume a lot. I'll be honest, I didn't consume a lot because the Braves were on last night. So I didn't consume much. I just saw Najee Harris run the ball a little bit. You spoke Josh Dobbs. You know me, I have a love-hate relationship with him. He threw a Hail Mary against, Georgia about 4 or 5 years back.
Yeah, we try to forget that one.
We try to forget that, but I mean, football is back, the best sport out there. I'm a basketball guy, but I know football is the best sport out there, and I'm happy. I can't wait for the NFL season to start.
Well, you mentioned it watching the Braves last night, Cam. A half an inning unlike one I've ever seen, and I'm waiting for something like the Elias Sports and ESPN Stats and Info to do like the heavy lifting for me on some of the stats from that inning, because there had to be some records broken. But let's paint the picture, right? Like Larry Munson. Let's just paint the picture of what the folks were seeing. Bottom of the seventh, going into the top of the eighth, the Braves are down 4-2. Paul Goldschmidt had singled to left center to extend the lead to 2 runs. I'm sitting there at home worried because yesterday I came on here loud and said the Braves were going to win that game, sweep the series. Tukey was on the mound, Tukey threw a good game. Bullpen gave up a couple of runs there. I was at home worried. I was about to get the text from you and Kevin saying, see? You jinxed it. But the Braves, unlike they have for a majority of the season, the bats came through clutch late in the game. So again, you're down 2, top of the 8th. Freddie Freeman gets on. Austin Riley absolutely hammers a baseball down the left field line, and it stays just fair. Braves tie the ball game up 4-4. All right, I'm breathing a little bit easier. I'm not still overly confident, because it's a tie ball game. You've won a few in a row now, or I guess a few. You'd won 2 in a row, which is historic for the Braves in 2021. Still a little bit worried. Then Adam Duvall gets on. Jock Peterson gets on. Dansby Swanson gets on. So you're sitting there with 2 outs, bases loaded. Here Adrianza comes up to pinch hit. I was like, man, come on, just put it through a hole somewhere, flare one into the outfield. Let's get a run and get out of here, close this game out, win 5-4. He gets walked.
Yep.
Does his job, gets walked. Braves go up 5-4. Very next batter, Stephen Vogt. Your catcher. All right, let's break this one open. Let's hit a gapper. He gets walked. Braves go up 6-4. Flip over the lineup. Ozzie Albies, top of the lineup. He gets walked on a full count. And these pitches, they were not missing by much, but they were missing. I think the ball 4 to Ozzie Albies just low and away at like 96. So he wasn't going to touch it, but a good eye by Ozzie to not swing at it, try to foul it off or roll out. Ozzie gets walked. Soler comes up. All right, you got your big power bat up here. He will strike out. Just put it in play, make the defense make a play. Let's see what happens. He gets walked. The Cardinals walk in 4 runs in the top of the 8th. And bear in mind, in the same top of the inning, Austin Riley had hit a game-tying 2-run home run.
Yep.
I want to go back and look at just how long, like in real time, that half an inning took, because it seemed like a lifetime.
Yeah, it did. I was watching the game. It seemed like it was about 35 40 minutes.
Probably. I mean,
Yeah.
it was nuts because you did have a pitching change in there. They bring in the new pitcher, and he's the one. He walks in a couple. It was a rough outing for that bullpen from the Cardinals. Like I said, an outing you immediately want to forget if you're a Cardinals fan. And flipping back and forth because the game was on Bally's and it was on ESPN, and so you'd go and get the home broadcast and flip over and hear the national broadcast. I always love hearing the national broadcast because you get some outside opinions on what the Braves are. And flipping over to the ESPN broadcast, first thing was they had no idea how to process that top of the eighth. But I thought some interesting comments from Tim Kurkjian on that broadcast where he said this lineup all of a sudden 1 through 8, which you saw Jock Peterson in there, even against lefties. Jock Peterson played, and look what happened. This lineup, top to bottom, there's not an easy out anymore, right? Ozzie Albies, Soler, Freddie Freeman, Austin Riley, Dansby Swanson, Jock Peterson, right? Stephen Vogt. You don't have an easy out in there. Mm-hmm. And I think that was really cool to hear from Tim Kurkjian. Does that mean they're going to go out and hang with the Dodgers or the Giants? Probably not. But it beats the hell out of having 3 quad A guys playing in your outfield. And taking nothing away from what those guys did, what Heredia did in the outfield, holding it down until you could add the new additions. But I think a lot of times like that, you're playing with fire if you think that's going to work forever. Right? If a guy's a 220 career hitter and he's hitting 260 for you, that's great for that period. But odds are he's going to revert back to what he was. I think we were starting to see the plateau of what those guys could do. And they're starting to, as BJ says, and as our math teachers would say, they were starting to regress to the mean. Mm-hmm. Right? But now you add guys who have been there and done that before. Soler hit 48 home runs not too long ago in a season. Jock Peterson has been a power bat in Major League Baseball for a while now. This is a very different looking lineup now. Adam Duvall, how big was that get from Alex Anthopoulos? Top to bottom, not an easy out in this lineup anymore. And I think this does a couple things for you. On the baseball field, you can actually go out there and compete with every team in baseball right now, I think. Are you going to win a 7-game series? Probably not. But night in, night out, you can compete with every team. The thing it does for you if you're the Atlanta Braves, it keeps your fans' eyeballs on the game.
Yeah, because you never know when that day might happen when you get that possible upset. So,
well, I mean even that is just every game you know you're going to be in. And you're about to get Huascar Ynoa and Ian Anderson back, and you know you're going to be in every game. Whereas a lot of times I know, because as much as I talk about this professionally, I'm just as big of a fan of the Braves as everyone else out there. When I get a lineup and the bottom of the order says Heredia, Adrianza, and Kevin Smith, that's tough because you know a third of the lineup or a fourth of the lineup or a third to a half of the lineup every night is going to be an easy out because you add the pitching spot into that. That's tough to swallow. But if all of a sudden 1 through 8, you have a guy that can do some damage, you're getting back closer to what you thought you were at the beginning of the season. Now, is this the same lineup that had Ronald Acuna, Travis d'Arnaud, and Marcell Ozuna? No. And looking like you're going to get Travis d'Arnaud back sooner rather than later. Ozuna and Acuna are not playing again this year. So you're not going to get back to that, but I think you got about as close as you can get without leveraging your entire farm system.
And see, that was the main thing to me at the trade deadline. If you're not too far back from the division lead, you keep it competitive for your fans. It's always for your fans. And now you're putting a product on the field to where you can say every game, every team we play, we're going to be in it. And if we're not in it, we have a good enough squad to go out there and compete. If we play the Dodgers, which in a couple of weeks you'll be playing the Dodgers and the Giants, I don't predict the Braves to get swept. You want to know why? Because 1 through 8, they're good enough, they're deep enough, and they have a competitive product on the field. And now at the trade deadline, you went and got some pieces to add to, trying to build a winning culture, even though you're down 3 very important players. I like what the Braves are doing. I think they'll win this division. I think they extend the win streak tonight. I will say that. So I'm excited just to be over 500. That's crazy. We're excited to be over 500. But as a Cardinals fan, I just wonder how they feel watching, 5
that one hurts. And it's been a rough month or so for the Cardinals because they've really fallen off a cliff inside their division. But you kind of mentioned the future schedule there. The Braves in their next 5 series, only play one team with a winning record. You play
Yep.
the Nationals twice, you play the Orioles and the Marlins. So you have a chance, I think, to catch the Mets, and then maybe if they continue this downward trajectory for the Mets, put some distance between yourself and the Mets, because after the Orioles, you have the Yankees, who are 10 games over 500, the Giants, who are almost 30 games over 500, and the Dodgers, who are trying to play catch up in that division. So it's about to get real after these next few series. Don't do the Braves thing where you play to the level of your competition and you go out there and lose a series to the Marlins, or you go out there and lose a series to the Orioles. Take advantage of these next few series against bad teams. Try to salvage a split between, I'd say, the Nationals and the Reds. If you go 500 of those games, you're feeling pretty good. Would you like to win both of those series? Sure, but the Reds are a really good baseball team. Go out there, get series wins, and then get into the meat of this really tough schedule going down the stretch. And I would so much rather be a couple of games up on the Mets going into Yankees, Giants, Dodgers, and then a couple games back. So let's make it happen. Let's get to first place in the East, try to defend that title, make it 4 in a row. We'll see what happens. Kyle Mueller on the mound tonight for the Braves as they face the Nationals. We'll have full coverage for you coming up a little bit later following 3 and Out. We got more to come here on Second Down. If you missed any portion of the show today, check it out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, ESPNCoastal.com, and SoundCloud. We got more to come here on Second Down after this. Second Down on ESPN Radio is presented to you by The Uniform Source. Big show coming up today on 3 and Out. We'll catch up with Jed May from UGAsports.com. He'll give us the latest from Athens as Georgia opens fall camp. JT Daniels getting his first crack at a full offseason. And as he said at SEC Media Days, first time in his career where there's not a competition. He's the guy. So we'll get an update on that from Jed May. Also coming up in the 5 o'clock hour, we'll catch up with Drew DeArmond from 977 The Zone in Huntsville, Alabama. Have a nasty defense, and it could get a lot better with some of the transfers they have coming in, including former Tennessee linebacker Henry To'oTo'o. Also on offense, Bryce Young. What does that Bill O'Brien offense look like? How's it going to differ from what Steve Sarkisian had going on there at Alabama? We'll catch up with Drew DeArmond and ask him about that. But Cam, we are not too far away, less than a month away from the kickoff of college football. I think inside 4 weeks now until we get to see Georgia and Clemson. So I have a quiz for you.
Okay.
We're going to get inside and listen. You have started to realize how weird we are in the studio about college football and how much brain space we waste on college football. But we're going to impose that on you. It's going to happen. I don't care how much you try to stop it. Our weirdness is going to move over to you, and all of a sudden you're going to be able to name a quarterback from 7 years ago who played in 4 games, but you'll know all of his stats from those 4 games. And you could be using your brain space for more important things like bettering the human race. But like us, you're going to use them on useless information. So I have a quiz. And the way I do these quizzes when I put them together for Second Down and 3 and Out, if I can't answer them, the question doesn't go on there.
Okay.
All right. I think that's a fair scale.
That's fair.
Cool. All right. So we have 10 questions here for you and 2 categories.
Okay.
All right. The first category, stats leaders, but second place. So when you think, okay, I know this guy has the most passing yards in the history of the school. Who's the second guy?
Okay.
So I think that's important because as the landscape of college football changes, obviously a lot more yards are getting put up. It's important to remember some of those key guys. Second one, mascots. Hugely important knowledge base there with the mascots. So we're going to dive into both of those. All right. I mean, you came from Savannah State, the Tigers. Love Savannah State. Not really a unique mascot there with the Tigers. So we're going to educate you on some of the cooler mascots. So we'll start with the stat leaders. Obviously, Bo is number 1 in Auburn history in rushing yards, right? Everyone in college football fandom knows that. Who is second place all time in rushing yards at Auburn?
Trey Mason.
It's a good guess. I respect that guess. It is not Trey Mason. It is Cadillac Williams.
Wow. Okay.
Shared the backfield with Ronnie Brown.
Okay.
Cadillac Williams over 3,000 yards in his career at Auburn. Not a bad guess, though, there with Trey Mason. I mean, had a heck of a season when Auburn went to the SEC championship. Nick Marshall's running back there. All right. Joe Burrow has the single-season passing yards records for LSU. Like, obliterated it by almost 2,000 yards, I think. Who is second all-time in passing yards in a single season at LSU?
Dang, I'm struggling between 2. I know Jamarcus Russell.
I will give you 2. I will give you 2 guesses.
Well, if I don't get these 2, then I don't know who. Jamarcus Russell or Matt Flynn.
It is neither one of those guys. Rohan Davey.
Would have never got that.
I think he may have played. That may have been the year you were born when he played. Rohan Davey.
Okay.
Leads. No, I think it was like 2001.
Okay.
When he set that record. All right. Second most career receiving yards in Clemson history behind Sammy Watkins.
Ooh. Dang. Something tells me say DeAndre Hopkins. Something tells me
there's been a lot of really good Clemson wide receivers.
Hunter Renfrow caught a lot of passes at Clemson.
And he was there for like 19 years.
Yeah. You know what? I'll go to Hunter Renfrow.
Oh, you should have stuck with your gut. DeAndre Hopkins is number 2. with 300 yards behind Sammy Watkins. The cool thing was those two dudes played with each other.
Yeah, exactly.
For 2 seasons.
That's why I picked them.
And then after Sammy Watkins graduated, you still had Hop and Mike Williams played with Hop. So, I mean, there have been some nasty wide receivers that have come through Clemson. All right. Calvin Johnson, in my opinion, is the best college wide receiver ever. I know a lot of people ride for Randy Moss. And with obviously good reasons. I'm not going to fight you. But to me, who I have seen in person, Calvin Johnson, best wide receiver in college football history. He is the leader in these 3 categories: receiving touchdowns in a career and in a single season, and in career receiving yards at Georgia Tech. There is a player from Georgia Tech history that is second to him in all 3 of those.
Wow, in Georgia Tech history?
Yeah, there is a wide receiver who is second to Calvin Johnson in receiving touchdowns in a career and single season. That's a really good guess. Kelly Campbell in the 90s. Kelly Campbell, second all-time to Calvin Johnson in receiving touchdowns for his career and in a single season and career receiving yards. All right, last question in the stats leaders. This player has the second most sacks in a season for Georgia. The second most sacks in a season for Georgia.
Second most sacks.
Georgia's had a lot of really good edge rushers.
This is tough one. This is a tough one. Is it? It's obviously in the 2000s.
Yes.
This dude's a defensive tackle. I don't even know why I'm saying this. Geno Atkins.
It is not Geno Atkins. David Pollock is actually number 2 in a single season. Jarvis Jones beat him out in 2012. David Pollock had 14 in 2002. Jarvis Jones had 14 and a half in 2012. And actually, just looking these up to confirm, Jarvis Jones is actually first in a single season in sacks and third in a single season in sacks. So, I mean, in his couple years at Georgia, he was
number 1.
He was nasty. All right, moving on to mascots.
Nah.
No, you got this.
Nah. Go ahead.
There are 4 schools in Division I FBS football that have the Bulldog as their mascot. I need you to name 3. There are
Sanford,
4.
Mississippi
No,
State.
FBS.
Okay. Mississippi State.
Yep.
Georgia.
Yep. I need one more.
You said the Bulldogs?
The Bulldogs.
See, I'm overthinking, man. I should be able to get this. I'm overthinking. FBS. Bulldogs.
Just talk it out. I like that. That's what Ben does. Just repeat the question back. Show me you're listening.
Dang. The Citadel is not in the FBS.
They are not. They are FCS.
Bulldogs. Man.
Shout out Javonte Middleton.
Bulldogs. Oh, my gosh. Whew. This is a tough one.
You have any idea?
It's probably going to be a team I know.
The first pick for the expansion Texans played for one of the other Bulldogs in college.
First pick for the expansion Texans. Nah.
David Carr played at Fresno State. Yep. Fresno State Bulldogs. The other one are the Louisiana Tech Bulldogs.
State.
Louisiana Tech Bulldogs there. All right.
Okay.
The Texas A&M Aggies, or the Texas A&M shares Aggies with 2 other teams. There's actually 3 teams in FBS, including Texas A&M, that use Aggies as their mascot.
3 teams. Is North Carolina A&T in the FBS?
They're not.
Okay, I know they were the Aggies. Okay, so you got Texas A&M.
I mean, Cam coming through with the FCS knowledge, though.
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
am. I know my little knowledge. You know, the guests have been good today.
I appreciate
they just
that.
haven't been on point.
I appreciate that.
You know, A for effort. Wow, Aggies. Nah, I don't even think I could. Where's New Mexico State?
They are the Aggies.
They are the Aggies. There you go. Yeah.
There's one more.
There's one. Wow. Okay. Man. Yeah, that's what I could give you. That's what I could give you. I know New Mexico State. That came off the top of my head. That's all I could give right now.
The other one, Utah State.
Oh man, wow.
Utah State
Jordan Love.
Aggies. Yeah, you go. All right, which UGA are we currently on?
Oh yeah, I'm not getting this. We've gone through like
Well, I mean, that's exactly the question. How many UGAs have we gone through? Which UGA are we on?
I don't know. 18.
We are on UGA 10 right now.
Wow.
Q, 2015 to present. Got a pretty good record, too, and a SEC championship. Got a Rose Bowl in there. So Q, rocking out. All right, two more for you, Cam. Ramsey is the live mascot. Ramsey is the live mascot for what school?
Ramsey?
Ramsey.
What does he look like?
Ramsey is the live mascot for this school.
Texas?
That's Bevo. Come on, dog. Ramsey.
Colorado?
That's Ralphie, the Buffalo. Ramsey.
It's somewhere out. It's somewhere out in the Midwest.
No, it's North Carolina. The Tar
Are you
Heels.
kidding?
Yeah, Ramsey.
Oh my gosh.
All right, last one, and this one because we are in the season right now. I need you to name 4 schools and their nicknames that have to do with changes in the sea level.
Four schools nicknames?
Yep.
Okay.
I'll even call it aquatic events.
Like Roll Tide. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're kind of there. What's the full name of that? They're the Alabama
Crimson Tide.
Crimson Tide's one.
Oh man.
It's just aquatic events.
Aquatic events. Okay. Florida Gators.
I mean,
not an
that's
event,
kind
but
of. I'm
they're in
talking.
the
I'm
water.
talking more like weather. I'll give them to you. The Miami Hurricanes,
Okay, I give you that.
the Tulsa Golden Hurricanes,
Would have not got that.
and the Green Wave, baby.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. Cam struggled today, fellas. He
Tulane.
struggled. Yeah. Tulane. Yeah. Cam struggled today.
That's fair. We got to take a break. We're way over. We'll come back. Final segment of Second Down next. Big show coming up today on 3 and Out. Guys, we're going to look at some of the fall camps from around the country. Clemson, Georgia, 28 days away now. We're getting close. September 4th, can't come fast enough. Clemson and Georgia both opening up fall camp. Also, Alabama and Georgia Southern. Though Ben was just in there looking at pictures of Cameron Ransom,
Huge.
Large individual. Could be exciting stuff coming up for this Georgia Southern offense. So all that coming up next on 3 and Out with BJ Bennett, Ben Troop, and Kevin Thomas. If you missed any portion of our show today, you can check it out on ESPNCoastal.com, SoundCloud, or Spotify. Hope everyone has a great weekend. Be sure to tune in tomorrow morning for the Back Nine Boys right here on ESPN Radio.